and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Welcome, everybody, to WDEX, the Wired Differently Experience. Yes, it's the Wired Differently Experience. My name is Todd Saylor, and yes, I'm the author of the book, The Brand and the Attitudinal Disorder Wired Differently. And the show's job, I want to talk to you about what we do here. The show's job is to lift you up. The show's job is to challenge the status quo. The show's job, the WDEX show, the teaching I'm going to have today is to push you away from mediocrity and averageanality. Now, that's my word, and you can use it anytime you want. And my job is to inspire you, motivate you, teach you a few things maybe, but love you. Take you right where you're at, because I know you're wired differently, and we've got to be able to use those things. We need to leverage our personal selves, the things that are special about us, our uniqueness, to be better in our craft than anybody else in the world. And your job is to kind of sit back, relax, take some notes. But most of all, I need you to be, do, and think differently. When I do these teachings, when I do these talks, I want you to know that I am a relentless talker, and I'm not afraid of it. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not here to pull over the wool on anybody's eyes. Yes, I am a relentless talker, but I want to talk to you about good things. I want to help build you, empower you. I want to make you bigger, faster, stronger, the things that you want to do, because we're wired differently, and we all have that innate ability to do those things. Being wired differently is basically being differently, right? Different is an adjective, describes a noun. Differently, though, is an adverb, and an adverb modifies an adjective or a noun. It brings action to anything that we're doing. So from now on, get rid of the word different, especially when you're talking about yourself. You're special. You're the best in the world at your craft because you're differently. You'll notice in all my writings and all my books, I really don't even use the word different. I only use the word differently. We forgot that adjective, and we only use the adverb differently. Anyways, today I want to talk to you about the 3 progressions of success. 3 progressions of success in business and pretty much anything you want to do in life. And I wanted to talk about those today. I'm introducing a version of a whiteboard here for you, because I wanted to kind of be more action-oriented and kind of write things down and make you feel comfortable. There's a lot of C-types out there that are being able to watch this and not only just hearing it, and maybe the notes might help you a little bit. I love this podcast. I love this show that we do on Facebook and Instagram, and I appreciate all your support. So let's just dig right into it. I'm going to give you the 3 progressions of success. And it's going to revolve around business, and the 3 progressions I'm going to put right here. 1, 2, 3, kind of writing backhanded here. But I want you to understand one important concept before we can really move forward hard and charge on this. And I want to teach on that first and foremost before we can get to the 3 progressions of success. The concept is riches versus wealth. Riches versus wealth. All right, so this concept of riches versus wealth is something that you need to be well aware of in your life, because before we can get to progression 1, 2, and 3 in success in business in this world, I want you to understand this fundamental command of riches versus wealth. And I think it's key for any entrepreneur, any business person, and anybody in this world when you look at it holistically. Not when I say holistically, I mean when we look at it beyond just business, because I really want you to understand in all my teachings that the business applications that I've enjoyed, I've been able to parlay into my personal life with my family and my friends and relationships. And my business and my family life does a very good job at trying to be harmonious, because I'm not going to lie and tell you I'm able to separate the 2. And I think that's something that you need to face in your own life. How do you do business harmoniously with life? But let me talk to you about riches and wealth. The concept of riches. Riches, well, let me tell you what riches are. Riches are the things that you make on a reoccurring basis. For instance, your paycheck. For instance, maybe some rental income that you get. For instance, any type of pay or regular amount of money that's based on your work or your survival skills that comes on a fairly regular basis. And it's money that's basically used on utilities. Yeah, your heat and your gas, those utilities, but the utility dollar to fund and drive your life. That is riches. You're taking the riches that you gain from working for somebody or doing something for someone else. You take that money and you use it to buy your house, to buy your car, to buy your groceries, to buy your toys. Those are riches, and we all need riches, man. We love riches because we need riches if we're ever going to get to what we want to call wealth. We've got to start off finding a way to create riches. We got to start off finding out how to way to create income. Riches are by and large a version of income. Wealth, though, on the other hand, is something that's building from you leveraging your riches, and it's building without your mindfulness. So let's put without mindfulness. Now, I don't mean without mindfulness forever, but on a reoccurring basis. You're not constantly working at this wealth product, or you're not constantly investing your time, your efforts, your labors, your sweat, and your tears into this product. But riches, you're constantly mindful of the riches coming in. You're doing the 9 to 5. You're doing the speaking gigs, Todd. You're writing the book. You're doing, some of you are working at factories. Some of you are working for electrical companies. You're doing these services and receive riches from those services to make your life go. We need riches. It's the fuel of our life. We need those riches, and we all have to have them. Riches aren't a bad thing, but I want you to understand the concept of riches is what we need to sustain our lifestyle and to propel us, hopefully to propel us into wealth. Propel. Now, if we're not mindful about our riches, we won't keep riches. So we got to be mindful about our riches, but we need to be mindful once we get our riches that we need to be putting them into products or things that create wealth. And create wealth are the products that we own that create wealth, and they impound and they appreciate in time, over time, without having mindfulness. So the most successful people in the world, in life, in relationships, and in business, have both riches and wealth. For you to be successful in life and in business, friends, I need you to first and foremost understand you have to have a model that yields you riches and wealth, both at the same time. Riches are good, but they're not going to get you to retirement all the time. Wealth is great, but it's not paying the bills because it's compounding daily and needs to work on its own without your mindfulness. So the most successful people in the world take their riches and they propel their riches into wealth. And so they're both working at the same time. So the most successful people in the world have riches and wealth. Let me give you a quick story on that. I have one of my companies, and here's basically the formula. The fact that I own the company and the fact that I draw income from it allows me to both, one, income and growth. So I have income coming in from it, but every time income comes in, it's multiplied by new sales. So for instance, this one company I have, if we do $1 million in sales, that yields approximately $300,000 in riches a year, right? 1 million equals 300,000 in riches a year. But that riches that's churning and burning and growing and yielding those riches, the same $1 million yields 4 million in valuation. So you can see, my friends, that riches right here from 1 million in sales yields 300,000 in riches, but the valuation of one, trying to do a weatherman here, of 1 million over to wealth becomes 4 million in valuation. So you can see how riches, the command of riches, makes you live well, have well, drive nice cars, eat well, have fun, and have happiness. But wealth really creates this joy in your life because it's growing and you don't really have any mindfulness on it. It's compounding daily and doing those things. And what a company can do for you, if you have these three progressions, it can work for you like that. It can allow you to have a multiple of a valuation based on sales, and it can have a multiple based on annualized revenue growth based on your riches. And so I really want us to have a strong command for riches versus wealth, because it's very important for you to be successful in life over long term, that you're creating something that will not only generate your riches, and a lot of us just get caught up in just the riches. We want you to understand you need to be developing your riches all along the while you're building your valuation, right, for wealth. You're out there building and paying your house payment every day. If you own a house, you're paying it through your riches, but every day, certainly right now, your house appreciates in value. So even though you make $1,000 house payment, a portion of it goes to principal, but the house is appreciating without you doing anything. That's wealth. So you're focused on the riches. Now, what if you're doing it in your organization? You're focused on your riches for your company, which generates a bottom line revenue for you and your employees and others. And at the same time, you grow that organization and its daily riches, you're actually multiplying the wealth, the valuation of that company. So I want you to make sure you understand the concept. You need both. You need both riches to drive your company and yourself, and you need wealth to be your target for your organization. So when you develop both of those, you can be in a position where your revenue and your riches are generating as much as 300,000 in my situation, and a multiplier of 4 times in the growth of the organization. But how do we get to that? So I want you to understand the 3 progressions of success, and I want to move through these, and I don't want to overcomplicate it, and I don't want this to go on too long, because sometimes I get a little winded because I am a relentless speaker. I found that out the other day. There was a term for me. I looked it up. Todd said this is relentless speaker. Well, I'm proud to own that moniker, and I know you're digging it, so let's get on with it. Number 1, brand clarity. Brand clarity. If you want to get to riches and wealth and to own both of these, the first thing you got to do in your progression of success in life is have brand clarity. You got to know who you are, what you want to be. You got to know exactly what you want as a human being and as a business goal. Brand clarity. If you want to be a slushy maker, you be the best damn slushy maker there is in the world. If you want to be a donut maker, you be the best, I don't care, best damn donut maker in the world, which I am in my craft. Now listen, if you want to be in payroll, be payroll. If you want to be in construction, be construction, but have brand clarity. Don't walk into this saying, well, I think I want to do construction. I might want to do concrete, or I might want to do framework, or I might just want to become a plumber. I'm not sure, but it's construction. No, damn it. You got to say, I want to be the best welder in the planet. That's it. Brand clarity. Your product, yourself, and your brand. I don't care if we're talking business or personality. Know exactly what you are, because you got to know who you are so you can become what you want to be. And my favorite subject, we all know what my favorite subject is, right? Let's talk about it right now. Me. Yeah, me. I need to know that I want riches and wealth. And me, I need to know my brand clarity was payroll organizations, which turned out to be 14 other organizations. And we're going to talk about that next. But you got to do one thing great. One thing great. All right? One thing great. Get that first launch. Get that first brand clarity. Mine happened to be payroll. And I've nailed it, and I was obsessed with it, and I didn't necessarily love payroll, but I became great at it. I became the nation's best sales producer in payroll 3 years in a row for a publicly traded company. I became great at it. I immersed myself, and I write about it all the time. And then I parlayed that into building my own organization, and we became the best in our space for under 50s. And then we became the best in our space for under 200s. And then now we became the best in our space for over thousands employees and a cloud-based. My point of the matter is, know who you are, know your brand. You can't be who you want to be if you're not clear on who you are. Brand clarity. Do one thing great. I love that. I want you to focus on that. I mean, a lot of us get ahead of ourselves and we're out doing multiple things. I've talked to 3 people last week where they thought they were in one business, but they got sidetracked on a shiny ball somewhere else and they started to invent another product. Now, you've got to be aware of FOMA. You're not going to miss anything. You got to focus on your brand clarity. I have trouble with focus, my friends. I drift and then I drift again, but I'm aware of my drift. And it wasn't until I became aware of my drift and was clear on brand focus and brand clarity before I became really successful. Brand clarity. Do one thing great. All right. That's the first progression of success in business and in life. Number 2, what are we going to do? Number 2, I want a back-end revenue plan. All right. This is really cool. Back-end revenue plan. So let's talk about back-end revenue plan. Once we know who we are and who we want to be, and we know exactly what we want with brand clarity, because we're on our way to riches and wealth in life and in business, and we know who we are to become who we want to be with brand clarity, now we've got to understand that brand is moving. The progression now is, now that we've got something working, and we've got inventory, and we've got people, and we've got success. What's our back-end revenue? Before you go start something new, before you create anything crazy or whack, do inventory on the people you have, do inventory on the processes you have, do inventory on what these clients you're already serving could possibly need more of, right? I mean, I know this is simple. I mean, maybe because you're listening right now, but I mean, I just don't think you think of these things. You're not paying me, but I'm paid in a way to help you think of things that you probably already know that makes sense. So you're in something, you're doing it great, you're doing it very well, you have brand clarity, and you're doing it great. Now, what can you do right now to satisfy the customer base that you already have, or a cousin to the customer base that you have? I mean, you already have got the people, you already have got the systems. If you stay in the same family or bloodline of services for some regards, what can you backhaul? What can you back end? You know, I think about a truck driver, and I honestly, I love truck drivers, and that's how I made my mark in this world. I sold payroll to transportation companies all over the country. And I became the world's best at transportation and payroll with per diems. And I learned the tax laws and how to manipulate or move or motivate these laws to work for these customers of ours. But the cool thing I learned from trucking or transportation is, man, they made the money on the backhaul, right? They were pricing product to go one way, and then they had brokers or friends back in the way back day lining up trucking products to come back home to the warehouse. So the backhaul was literally making more money for the company than the front haul. I mean, I know it's germane almost to a lot of people to think that way, but are you thinking that way about your company? And I got to thinking this way just the other day, again, because I had to have an Uber. I love Uber. I love the drivers. I love the mystery behind it and the stories of the drivers. And this driver picked me and my wife up at the airport. And on the way to our house, which was 35 minutes from the airport north, he started laughing and saying, man, I wish you were south, because this is the last haul of my day and I live 30 minutes south. So I have an hour to drive home from your place. And, you know, he was laughing about it, but I was just thinking about this message in my mind, how I was going to be talking about back-end revenue. So what is he going to do? He's going to sit around Bradenton for just a little bit and hopefully pick up another ride that he can take south so he can get paid for his drive home. His front haul did well. His front haul pays him enough to get there, make the money, and pays him a little enough money to get back to where he's going. But what if he could get full billing on the way home? And that's double the margins, double the profit. It's better for the trucker. It's better for the transportation. So what I want to know is, what I want to do is challenge you. What's your back end revenue? So I built brand clarity with payroll, right? But my next progression in the 3 progressions of success was create a back end revenue, right? So we created a back end revenue, and that back end revenue became staffing, right? So staffing. So why staffing? Well, I've already got the people. I've already got the building. I already got the processing of payroll that goes along with staffing. I already got the know-how. All I basically needed was an organizational alignment, and I needed some insurance. And for less than $5,000, I was able to secure insurance. Now all I needed was customers. Well, just so happened a lot of my customers in the payroll world were already doing staffing with other organizations. So since my front end load has already been paid for, with payroll processing being the best in the world from 50 to 500 to now to 1,000 is over, we built a staffing organization as our back end revenue. That company, which cost me roughly $5,000 to start probably 5 years ago, which in essence, I really started to pay for new software for the payroll company, is worth $3 million or more now to this day, because it was a back end revenue plan from a front end carry, a front load carry. Front load is your brand clarity, and back end or back load is your secondary income coming from the lifting you've already done in your first brand. Brand clarity, back end revenue. So I want you to be thinking and focusing, what is your back end revenue? Most of the time, your back end revenue is exponentially more profitable per transaction than your front end load or your front or brand clarity. The brand clarity has paved the way for your back end revenue to be super profitable and even more successful in some cases. And the last thing I want you to talk about and hear about is next. Got that? Dream loaded. All right, we understood the concept of riches versus wealth. We understood brand clarity. We understood back end revenue plan. And now next dream loaded. Payroll was my brand clarity. Staffing was my back end revenue. And then my next dream loaded was factoring. Well, this is kind of a little secret sauce here, but I'm sharing it with you. It's the idea of having all 3 progressions in play at once to get to riches versus wealth, where we have both riches versus wealth. So think about this now. If you do brand clarity and you have riches compounding in wealth with a valuation and a multiplier, and then you're securing more profits with a back end revenue plan like staffing. Now our third progression in our business model and life model is next dream loaded. So we had payroll as 1, we had our back end as 2 as staffing, and number 3 was next dream loaded. I believe that once we got through progression 1 and 2, the third progression was to create a company that loaned money to staffing clients. So now you have an entity that's earning riches and wealth and payroll, right? And now you have an entity that's got a back end revenue earning riches and wealth and staffing, right? And now next dream loaded, you've got a factoring company that's earning riches and wealth all in the same inventory. bucket. Bucket, right? You guys see all that? All right, so I just wanted to give you a little shout out. I want to give you a quick lesson here in 3 progressions of success. Riches versus wealth. That's what we need to understand. Our goal is to strive for riches on a daily, weekly, monthly process to build and put it into things that can create wealth that doesn't take mindfulness every day, but compounds and works as passive income or valuations growing without us touching it. The riches create the wealth compounds, and we live off our riches. The way we do that, though, is now we build a product, an entity, or a service that has brand clarity, right? Once we have brand clarity, we've agreed that we're going to do one thing great. 2, that one thing great leads into a back-end revenue plan. What would be your back-end revenue plan upon the success of doing one thing great? We have that loaded and ready to go. Now we have 1 unit making riches and wealth. Now 2, the back-end revenue is an entity that creates riches and wealth. And number 3, the next dream loaded is that succession plan from 1, 2, and 3 that could build off that inventory bucket that, yes, will be an LLC or a C Corp, however you're going to run it, but it too will create riches and wealth for you. Now, if you add up all these LLCs and these entities and you start putting them together, man, now you got something wired differently. Well, I want to thank you for the time. I want to give you a quick lesson and shout out on riches versus wealth and the 3 progressions of success. Come on, everybody. This is Todd Saylor doing Wired Differently, right? Just keep in mind, yes, I am the author of the book, The Brand and the Attitudinal Disorder, Wired Differently. And you, my friends, do life and business wired differently. Come on now. Let's have a great day. Execute the plan. Can't execute a plan if you don't have one.